Hello everyone, this is Kyo86. I will explain to you that it's possible to calculate the GDP of Touhou. Yes, it's very common to do, but using my specific metrics, I can measure with the score and the characters. So let's go. This video is going to be very long. Please keep the calm. Okay, it's very crazy, but I found a way to measure with using my score in games. A quick note, my score is based on scientific use, not real to categorize my score to be higher than the average of Touhou players. All of these games was played in Lunatic, because it's very important to factor to increase points. I will use the Enting AV to separate out the 18 principal games. I didn't make statistics with Touhou 19 yet, but I don't consider the dots 5 games because there's some aren't a Damakuk game. Yes, you probably wondering now how to measure the GDP, but there is no any goods, service and industries since Touhou 1. So I did some research and this have an explanation. The game economics. That is a game mechanics based in a system of rewards, spell cards, POC, PIV, bullet cancels, grades and routing, and spent with resources, bombs and lives. This score, for example, is the best way to represent this game mechanics. In shrinemedia.org, post written by Carissa, explains the basics of Touhou scoring. I'm going to put in topics, considering that is a long post. Among them are point of collection. Point items are worth more points than higher. They are on the screen. Above the certain line, items are typically worth your point item value. Their value is substantially reduced if collected and lower. As point items are one of the main sources of points. Collecting items and maximum value is surprisingly an essential part of scoring. In Windows games, items can be auto-collected by moving near the top and on top of screen to well-known point of collection. Since the point is collection so relevant, it will be known as a POC from now on. Point of item value, PIV. Increasing the value of point items is always one of the primary goals to scoring in the main series. From PCB onward, point items effectively have a quadratic effect on score, since their effect depends both on the number of point items and your PIV at the time. The method of increasing PIV is usually game specific, so it's difficult to summarize, but generally in first few stages focus primarily on increasing PIV, frequently at ghost direct points such as spell bonuses. The PIV increases will benefit you for the entire remainder of the game. Spell card bonuses. Like point items, spell card bonuses are one of the most obvious sources in score. In the Windows games, however, unlike point items, the score benefit of spell bonuses weirdly varies throughout the series. Spell bonuses are variable and about half in games, and most extra stages, but in other games, spell bonuses are very low that it's frequently better to stall out their game for grace or bomb them for another benefits. In all games where they exist, spell bonuses decrease over time, with the exceptions of survival spells and few arbitrary excess spells. So when they are worthwhile, it's better to capture spells as quickly as possible. Bullet cancels. In most Touhou games, bullets are removed from screen by finishing a boss phase or bombing some games, are worth points and or PIV. Bullet cancels are most beneficial in most games, but negligible in SA and 2TD. Since bombing is also cancels bullets, it's often worth spending bombs of score or PIV or particularly dense patterns. Make sure not to finish off patterns with a bombing though, or you mess the window cancel. There are many patterns in series where special techniques have been developed to maximize grace, usually involving circling around the boss, safe spotting, otherwise staying close to the bullet spawn points. This type of grazing is sometimes known as super grazing. Grace is gained by moving within a certain distance of the bullet. In general, regular bullets can only be grazed once. Lasers can be grazed separately at the Windows games, except the most TLD lasers, giving a slow trickle of grace in SLD into Imperishable Night, and about 15 grace per second on SA onward. Some special projectiles, such as Orin Ghost Wheels, Touhou Suns, Murasa Anchors, and Amazon Animals, can also be grazed constantly like lasers. Using resources. When scoring, resources have a very different role from survival. While in survival, the goal is avoid using them whenever possible. In scoring, they tend to something to regularly spend throughout the game. Bombing has many different purposes in these various games, including to auto-collect items when you can't otherwise safely research in POC, to defeat enemies that otherwise escape, to cancel bullets for points, cherry or PIV, to graze during the invisibility with certain shot types, to speed kill mid bosses in order to spawn more stage enemies afterward, to stay close to bosses for more spirits. Note, in TD, resources become strengths as well. The main purpose of intentionally dying is simply to refuel bombs. However, in MOF plus engine, dying creates a death wave that weakly damages enemies. And the SA, you can also graze dirty invisibility after dying. Dying also clears the screen of bullets, which may help reach the POC at times. Loading. While knowing the techniques is important, loading when to use them is also essential for scoring. These stage portions are particularly important. For example, there is a planning when you can reach in POC to collect as many points as possible. Gathering resources when it's not trivial, and game mechanics like the board and trains release timing prevent the phase from decreasing and multiplying the value of points. Notably, in most Touhou games, the more enemies spawn faster when you defeat mid-boss. You often need to make a choice whether to install a mid-boss to graze better, but cancel a speed kill by bombing for the addiction items. So, that is just the score, but it's a GDP. As the series doesn't have a final scoreboard, specific levels about 2 factors to scoring like bird cancels, routing or some metrics didn't exist in other games. We come across a very difficult situation, but I tried a new form of measure, then go to math. Firstly, you need beat all 18 games with higher score in phonetics and write some places like Notepad or Excel and prefer the last one. After you will calculate the quartile 2 of whole scoreboard of 18 games. Then calculate the quartile 1 and 3 and the limit following the formula x times 2 plus I0, of which x represents a quartile 3 from score. 2 is a constant and I0 is percentage to another quartile of number of games was played along the octile 1. In this case, the I0 was equals 94%. Second, you must have on hand the logistic function formula, with following values. P0 is a minimum value, K is a limit of quartile 3, I0 is percentage from a number of games was played, X is a sum of quartile 3 and octile 1, X the counting of games by score. Third, you need multiply by 100 and 0.64 to convert to yen and dollar today with today values. Why you must do it? It's because in the original value is a score, that's no real value. But considering that one enemy can drop points, as like one fireball in Mario series can transform an enemy in a coin. So at 1 point is equivalent to 100 yen coin. As the value of this score exchange, it's just a representative game mechanic. There is no real value in game. And voila! That is my way to calculate GDP and progressive growth as well. We can calculate the PPP or parity purchasing power to calculate the following way. Its average cost of 1 pound of apples is $2.24. And considering that the Tokyo have same economy of Japan is 320.33 yens. So let's do a math again. Today, in May 21st, $1 is equivalent to 156 yens. The PPP formula is PPP is equals E times P1 and divided to P2, of which the E is exchange rate, P1 is price of some product in country A, and P2 is the price of same product in country B. So PPP is equals to 155 times 2.24 and divided to 320.33, and finally we get the PPP rate is equals approximately 1.0908. This rate will be multiplied by the GDP, and the population of these games is a number that real characters have. All these comparisons of GDP with real countries will use data from IMF in 2024. Now we will see the Touhou eras. Part 1. The PC98 era. In highly responsible to players, I made this value that is showing in your screen, and analyze the game. Its economy that is not based in real Damaku, but in Arcanoid. Raymond needs in this game to bounce the yin-yang orb to hit various targets, cards, and bosses alike, and she can manipulate the orbs by hitting of the Elohei. Thus, to these numbers. The nominal GDP of this game is equivalent to $1.45 billion, similar to Comoros. The GDP PPP is equivalent to $1.421 billion, similar to Samoa. The population is equivalent to 9 chars. The nominal GDP per capita is equivalent to $161.959 million. GDP per capita (PPP) is equivalent to $176.677 million. Would be the biggest in the world, but compared to another games, this would be at 18th position. As like GDP per capita, nominal and PPP is almost similar in these games. I will put it in same ranking because the position of some games and PPP or nominal is the same. In the story of Eastern Wonderland, I made this value. This game economy is based in real Damaku, introduced many features that is now hallmarks in all the series as a whole. Relatively small hitboxes, boss characters who are not much larger than the player. Characters, however, are highly mobile, and mob power-up system, the variable worth point items, unlockable extra stages, and a semi-complex scoring system. And the game also marks the first appearance of Mercury Same. To the numbers. In nominal GDP has $3.724 billion, similar to Belize. GDP PPP is equivalent to $4.63 billion, similar to Comoros. population of 7 characters, nominal GDP per capita is $532.106 million. The GDP per capita PPP is equivalent to $580.461 million. Rank per capita is the 17th position. Phantasmagoria of Jim Dream, I made this valley. This game economy is a Danmaku, but 2 characters engage in Danmaku gameplay within individual and separate play areas, aka split screen. Upon meeting the certain conditions, players are able to unleash the variety of character-specific spell attacks upon their opponents is an attempt to whittle down their remaining health points to the numbers. The nominal GDP is $9.426 billion, similar to Montenegro. The GDP PPP is equivalent to $10.283 billion, similar to Gambia. Population of 9 characters. Nominal GDP per capita is equivalent to $1.47 billion. The GDP per capita PPP is equivalent to $1.142 billion, and the rank per capita is 16th position. In Lotus Land history, best host of Touhou, I made this valley. Lotus Land history is the first game in Touhou project to feature bombs that out-collect items, race counting, the ability to move more slowly by holding the shift key, and the non-trivial scoring system that involves the collection of special dream items that boost the player's ultimate scoring potential. The game's scoring system also makes a serious first instance of score bonuses for the elimination of bullets following the defeat of mid-bosses and bosses. Finally, Lost Land Story introduces a counter-bomb system, allowing you to avoid the fatal hit, use the bomb at the moment it gets hit, which also appears out later games. To the numbers. Nominal GDP is equivalent to $23 and $293 billion, similar to Mozambique. The GDP PPP is equivalent to $25.409 billion, similar to Togo. Population of 9 characters. Nominal GDP per capita is equivalent to $2.588 billion. GDP per capita PPP is $2.823 billion, and the rank per capita is our 15th position. At least in PC 98 era, there is a Mystic Square, the first appearance of Best Char Flow. I made this valley, yes, lower than the previous one. Mystic Square is the most refined of the PC 98 Touhou titles, and features gameplay kit similar to Windows Touhou games. It employs a variant of Lotus Land Story Dream bonus system, reward the player taking risks, collecting points items from the top of the field area. Its rank system, however, is more lenient than Lotus Land Stories. To the numbers. The nominal GDP is equivalent to $54.432 billion, similar to Macau. The GDP PPP is equivalent to $9.378 billion, similar to Tajikistan. Population of 13 characters. Nominal GDP per capita is $4.187 billion. GDP per capita PPP is equivalent to $4.567 billion. The rank per capita is 14th position. Part 2. The Classic Era. Oh yeah, the Sitting Raymond meme. Here we go. In the embodiment of Scarlet Devil, I made this valley. Very large than the previous one, huh? This gameplay holds various fundamental similarities to the PC98 titles and the whole, but differs in the introduction of spell cards. The pacing has also been changed significantly, but retains some of the PC98 titles. fast pacing, giving the important described debut of the reputation of having a heightened difficulty compared to Windows Live titles. These aspects were, for the most part, removed from the Perfect Cherry Blossom and the Veritable Night, a change retained from the PC98 titles and the Item Get feature, which allows the player to collect all the items on the screen by moving on the top of the screen, if at full power. This mechanic was retained in all later games. To the numbers, the nominal GDP it has $113.376 billion, similar to Guatemala. GDP PPP it has $123.679 billion, similar to Paraguay. Population of 11 characters. The nominal GDP per capita have $10.306 billion. The GDP per capita PPP has $11.243 billion, and the rank per capita is the 13th position. Continuing, there is my favorite game ever, the Perfect Cherry Blossom. I made this valley. In Perfect Cherry Blossom features 3 playable characters to choose from, and each character has 2 different sets and skills. Rainbow Hakurei is relatively balanced in all areas. Marisa Kirisame moves faster and uses more powerful attacks with less range. Sakuya Izayoi moves slower and uses weaker attacks that can hit just about everything on the screen. A major addition to Perfect Cherry Blossom is the cherry scoring system. Shooting enemies increases your cherry points, bombing or dying decreases your cherry points, and reaching 50,000 cherry points gives you a temporary shield. Cherry points eventually lead to a higher cherry gauge, which increases the points you receive from point items. To the numbers, the nominal GDP has $195.857 billion, similar to Ukraine and Ethiopia. The GDP PPP has $213.656 billion, similar to Guatemala. Population of 18 characters. The nominal GDP per capita is $10.880 billion. The GDP per capita (PPP) has $11.869 billion, and the rank per capita is 12th position. After, there is a game that I confuse it with another games in another era, which in turn I will speak. This is Veritable Night, and in this game I made this value, the highest in the scoreboard, but it doesn't have the biggest GDP. Veritable Night features the Let Spells. For the enemy, Let Spells is a bonus spell card which the player can challenge without the option to use bombs and without the risk of losing lives. On the player side, Let Spells are secondary bomb spell cards, which last longer and do much more damage than normal bombs, and they expand to bomb stocks. Players' last spells can only be used immediately after being hit, with the grace period of less than 1 second. Additionally, there is a time orb system which affects the story score, as well as gauge, which tracks how human, yokai, normal focused you are, determines how you can collect more time orbs. To the numbers, the nominal GDP has $273.132 billion, similar to Algeria. The GDP PPP has $297.953 billion, similar to Dominican Republic. The population of 17 characters. The nominal GDP per capita has $16.66 billion. The GDP per capita PPP has $17.526 billion, and the rank per capita is in 11th position. At least this game exists. And oh my gosh, I hate Enting so much. Holy god. I know this is Arya's first appearance and coolest musical theme of hers, and it's cool, but I prefer another game. The Phantasmagoria review, Kaitsuka, I made this value, and this game features the story mode, which pits the player against the 9 opponents, with each opponent becoming progressively more skilled. A versus mode also consisting in a single match against either an AI or human opponent. The player can also choose to watch 2 AI opponents face off. Using the net play patch enables a multiplayer through LAN on over the internet. Similar gameplay is present in earlier entry, Phantasmagoria of Dream. When the player loses all their hit points, they are defeated. To the numbers. The nominal GDP has $322.637 billion. Similar to Czech Republic, the GDP PPP has $351.956 billion. Similar to Finland, population of 17 characters. The nominal GDP per capita is $18.978 billion. The GDP per capita PPP is $20.703 billion, and the rank per capita is the 9th position. Part 3. The Religious Era. Oh, so nice, so cheerful. This is a nice game, Mountain of Faith, which I made this value. And this game features 2 playable characters, each with 3 weapon types, but no personalized spell card bombs. Collecting power items results in an increase of option satellites around the character, in total of 4, which have differently according to the character and weapon type. Each character's options also fire bullets, and either shift position or freeze the place in focus fired mode. The scoring system is based on the Fate meter, in which has favorable gauge and a numeric value minimum 50,000. And as long as gauge is not empty, the player fate value doesn't decrease, but the gauge slowly depletes unless the player is defeating the enemies or collecting point items. Point items also partially refill the gauge, and the fate items increase the fate value. The fate value directly affects the point of items and spell card bonuses. To the numbers. The nominal GDP has $347.103 billion, similar to Egypt. GDP PPP has $378.646 billion, similar to Kenya. Population of 11 characters. Nominal GDP per capita has $31.554 billion. The GDP per capita PPP has $34.422 billion, and the rank per capita is in 4th position. This is a very high position. Though, succeeding MOF, there is a game as the Ukrainian Satori, the Albanian Oku, and the Brazilian Koichi, aka KKTHA, is based in Brazilian homicide rate. It's a joke, bro. This is Touhou 11, also called Subterranean Enemies. In this game, I made this value. Subterranean Enemies and features 2 playable characters, Rainbow Hackery and Marisa Kirisame, each with 3 weapon types represent the yokai accessing them from above ground. Collecting power items adds up 4 option satellites around the character, or 8 for Marisa and Marelia's combination, which have differently according to the characters and weapon types. Power can be used to unleash and bomb, each with different behaviors, and some special gameplay effects occur. The scoring system is based in grazing coupled with the collection of items dropped by enemies. As such, the player urged to actively graze ever possible to opportunity in order to increase the point of item value. Grazing large amounts of bullets into little time is rewarded by the temporary effect of out-collecting all the free falling items and their maximum value, identical to the point of collection effect, but without regard to the character's location of the screen, letting the player to concentrate to avoid bullets. To the numbers. The nominal GDP has $357.650 billion, similar to Egypt. The GDP PPP has $390.152 billion, similar to Uzbekistan. After this is all the same. Population of 19 characters. Nominal GDP per capita is $18.823 billion. GDP per capita PPP is $20.534 billion. Interreg per capita is in 10th position. Following the essay, the game Unified Fantastic Objects is quite interesting because the ransomware, and this virus will explode the computer. It's a joke. In this game, I made this value. Unified Fantastic Object main gimmick lies in colored UFOs. Certain enemies will release a UFO upon destruction, with the player can collect and obtain some more bombs, green, life piece red, or point bonuses, blue. Scoring generally involves timing UFOs, outbreaks, well, and utilizing point-based UFOs over the others. This game also marks the turn of the standard bomb system from earlier games, gave the player the supply of bombs rather than tying it to their shot powers. To the numbers. The nominal GDP has $361.927 billion, similar to Romania. After this is all the same. GDP PPP is $394.817 billion, similar to Uzbekistan. Population of 10 characters. The nominal GDP per capita is $36.192 billion. The GDP per capita PPP has $39.481 billion, and the rank per capita is the second position. At least, a cool game, but I turned a blind eye for some bosses. It's my nonsense, don't take too serious, but I like Futo and Miko. This game is 10 desires, and I made this value. The major addictions for the basic Denmark gameplay is 10 desires. Include the Divine Spirits and the Stress Gauge. Divine Spirits are released when enemies are killed, bosses are damaged, and certain scripted events. There are four varieties of the spirits: blue, gray, purple, and green. Blue spirits increase the value of point items collected at the top of the screen. And most importantly, fill up the stress gauge a little bit. Gray spirits behave like a yellow outlined point items of Mountain of Faith, granting the maximum possible amount of points no matter where on the screen they are collected. Gray spirits also fill the stress gauge more than blue spirits do. In 10 Desires, practice mode has extra game mode known as Overdrive. Overdrive as a mode that is harder than Lunatic mode by adding more bullets and increasing speed. Overdrive is also a certain spell exclusive, including in certain spells in boss fights. This game is only one that includes the such mode. However, it can be seen in the sprite sheet on another newer games. Unlike the previous games, each stage doesn't have to be finished in order to unlock it for practice mode. Only attempted. This has remained this way since. To the numbers. Nominal GDP has $363.618 billion. The GDP PPP has $394.817 billion. Population of 14 characters. Nominal GDP per capita has $25.972 billion. The GDP per capita PPP has $28.333 billion, and the rank per capita is at 8th position. Part 4. The Modern Era. Well, currently this is the last part of the whole era, and nothing better to start than with the double dealing character. Okay, this game is gorgeous, for the reason that Rev have the Raiko, Sukuna sisters and the Sukuna, and the musical themes of them are amazing. But I remember when I was playing in extra stage against Raiko, and the game started to lag in 3 hours in the final boss in my old computer. And when I bought a new notebook and consequently a new PC, the delay no longer occurred. In this game, I made this value. The major gameplay mechanics is simple on the upgrade to the item get auto collection system. When you auto collect either by a scene item get border line using the bomb or reaching definitely a boss, you will get a bonus points and those pieces based on amount of power and point items auto collected within a certain timing window. You get bomb pieces and 20 items and life pieces at 60. Though every 5th bomb piece is replaced with another piece life piece. To the numbers, the nominal GDP has $364.280 billion. The GDP PPP has $397.384 billion. Population of 12 characters. Nominal GDP per capita is $30.356 billion. The GDP per capita PPP is $33.113 billion, and the rank per capita is the 7th position. Succeeding the DDC, there is the most high character game, the Kodeiko game, the Junko game. There is the Legacy of Lunar Kingdom, or Touhou Kenjuden. I don't have much opinions about this game, but I like it so much. I made this value in this game. Legacy of Lunar Kingdom allows a selection between game modes. The Legacy mode, which functions similarly to previous Touhou game project titles, and the Fun Device mode, a gameplay that removes lives and continues from the game but adds chapter checkpoints. When the player hits in Fun Device mode, the game reverts back to the state of beginning of current player chapter on a small penalty to power. Additionally, after choose the difficulty, the check characters from menu, Fun Device mode grants the option to resume the previous game section. Grazing is not changed for the previous titles, slowing the fall of point items so long as the player continues to graze. Prolonged grazing of bullets grants an additional 5 graze points. Graze becomes important as players may be awarded a life fragment in Legacy mode or a bomb fragment or pointed in Point Device mode at the end of each chapter, depending on how many grace points were earned and how many enemies were defeated. To the numbers, the nominal GDP has $364.538 billion. The GDP PPP has $397.666 billion. The population has 11 characters. Nominal GDP per capita has $33.139 billion. The GDP per capita PPP has $36.151 billion, and the rank per capita is the 3rd position. Following OK, the Hidden Star of 4 Seasons is a game that I think whether I made the score so correctly, because all the Windows series was lowest score ever, and the value was this, even lower than for the whole 4 from PC98. There are 4 playable characters, each of which has a season assigned to them that determines their shooting type, main season. Rainbow Hakurei, Spring, Cerno, Summer, Ayashimimaru, Fall, and Barisa Kirisame, Winter. In addition, a subseason is initially selected, in which again the 4 seasons as well as for the extra stage for 5th X season. Shooting enemies, completing spell cards and grades create some season items, which drop down like other items. It can be collected by the player, slowly replenishing options. Pressing the release button, default C, consumes all options of season's release, which can convert orbs into green point items that permanently increase the value of blue point items is a part to depends the subseason. To the numbers, the nominal GDP has $364.639 billion. The GDP PPP has $397.775 billion. The population of 12 characters. Nominal GDP per capita is $30.386 billion. The GDP per capita PPP has $33.147 billion, and the rank per capita is the 6th position. Next, we have the game that have 2 of 3 most beautiful characters, respectively Kutaka and Keiki. The first is just Alice Megatroid. In this game, I made this value. In Wily Beast and Weakest Creature, the player can equip one of 3 animal spirits, namely Wolf, Otter, and Eagle. Wolf powers up the player's focused shot, Otter powers up the player's bombs, and Eagle powers up the player's unfocused shot. Upon defeating certain enemies and between each spell cards, items called spirit items will appear on screen and bounce around a very long time, similar to undefined fantastic object UFO. There are 3 beast items, one for Wolf, Otter, and Eagle, which vertically circle in aforementioned order. Upon collecting 5 spirits, the player enters roaring mode, similarly to Perfect Cherry Blossom Supernatural Border. Roaring mode can end timeout calling or by being hit, which negates the hit. While ending roaring mode by timeout, create new beast items, ending in throw any other metal triggers and spirit strike which deletes enemy bullets. All standard non-basic drops, lives, bombs, high value in powers, and high value points now also feed into this item. To the numbers. Nominal GDP has $364.678 billion. The GDP PPP has $397.818 billion. Population of 10 characters. Nominal GDP per capita is $36.467 billion. The GDP per capita is PPP is $39.781 billion, and the rank per capita is the 1st position, the highest GDP ever per capita. At least there is the unconnected marketeers, Shimata School. In this game, I made this value. On UM, the game features 56 ability cards that can either be equipped before starting a playthrough, with some exceptions, or bought at the shop menu after each stage. While only a few are initially available to be equipped in advance, others can be unlocked via successive playthroughs. There are 4 subcategories of ability cards. The active cards can be used as they will be C key and switched between the D key, and if several are equipped at once. Most active cards have cooldowns which prevent them from being used until enough time has passed. The equipment cards give the players extra options with fire addiction shots or erase enemy bullets they come in contact with. Passive cards give the player miscellaneous gameplay perks Search as increased shot or spell power or the ability to gain resources under certain circumstances. And the cards serve to increase the player money, power, or resources when purchased or collected from enemies that drop them. Ethan cards cannot be equipped by default. To the numbers. Nominal GDP has $364.693 billion. The GDP PPP has $397.834 billion. The population of the 12 characters. Nominal GDP per capita has $30.391 billion. The GDP per capita PPP has $33.152 billion. And the rank per capita is 5th position. So, I didn't put the Touhou 19 yet, but if this video has some impact, I will do an extra part quoting the Touhou 19. These are graphics which are representing the increasing number of GDP, the GDP PPP, nominal per capita, and PPP per capita. What I can conclude from this is that each game GDP increases very high, but at a certain moment stagnates. Why did this happen? It's because I used the logistic function to balance the score with the GDP ratio. Does this change anything in the games? Not necessarily. Through the PC98, there is a system limit to scoring, and in Windows versions can support higher values. That is it. Hey, yeah, long video, huh? Yes. I spent a few days making this script in this video, so that is. I know that is not very realistic because I didn't use real metrics to calculate the GDP of these games, but was kind of mental exercise to understand how is wonderful to that the whole series it is. All these resources will be on a description below of this video. And so let's do the final notice. Well, this was my first video that I actually used in English the entire time. And my first video I wrote a specific script to make this real. My previous video of this season was talked to HDI in the whole series, but it's Portuguese, and in the future I will put the captions or make another video. I'm very proud of this, and so thank you very much to watch this video until the end, and see you next time. Bye.